All right, we're being recorded, guys. Are we live? Can y'all see it? Let's see.
Let's
I can never
see.
see it. I can see it now. I can see it this time. Hey guys, what's up? What's up? Listen, we are here for the final live panel of the Tailor-Made HVC 2021. Y'all, I was just telling them that this part of the conference has been better than I ever expected. The conference has been better than I ever expected it. Not that I expected it to flop or anything like that or be terrible. It's just I never expected for the live panel to do what it's doing for me personally, and then for you guys as well. You know, I hope it's doing something for you. It seems like it is, right? So before we get started, I'm going to introduce our speakers once again. By now, you should know them all. They've all been here at least once. Most of them have been here twice, I believe. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce them. So I'm gonna go left to right. NaConda is first. Y'all know NaConda, the peace to my storm, the quiet storm, homeschool coach, right? Kimberly Tardy, Southern Mocha homeschool mom. Then I have Jania Otey, Kids and Culture Camp, who just gave away a cookbook, guys. Cynthia Heren and Inside Our Normal, which we have learned so much about her just in the last few panels that she has been in. I thought, honestly, when she first started saying things, she was like, yeah, I'm a homeschool mom with 3 kids with 3 different learning styles. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a lot. I didn't think anything of it. And then as we talk to her more, it's like she gets deeper and deeper, and it's like, holy cannoli, she's got a lot going on. Inside Her Normal is a great name, right? Thea D. Parker, right? The Realtor, the Thea D. Parker Show is right there. Jequithia Sims, the Caffeinated Nutritionist, is here with us as well. And then I'm gonna say your name, Miss Barneswell. I'm gonna mess it up, so I'm just gonna call you by your last name. I apologize. I suck at it. I'm sorry. I don't want to mess it up though. That means a lot to me. So I'm just going to call you Miss Barneswell is in here in the Zoom room with us as well. And in the comments, let's see who we have in the comments. We've got Jazzy in the comments as usual. And Kamisha, both of them, they have been consistent. They both say, hey guys, and Jan is in the comments as well, right? So listen, our subject for today is homeschooling for everyone. Is homeschooling for everyone. Okay. So I'm not gonna ask no questions. We just gonna have a conversation. That's the question. Okay. Who wants to go first? Is homeschooling for everyone? Who wants to go first?
Go first.
Who
It
said
is
that?
not.
Okay.
It is a lifestyle change and a commitment and an investment. And you have to ask yourself, am I up for the challenge?
Okay. Somebody else?
So I was talking to my kids about this at dinner tonight. And for our case, I hear a lot of people tell me that you can't homeschool a special needs student who has an IEP. And my son, who is my one child with an official IEP, looked at me with the biggest eyes, deer in the headlights look, like, what do you mean you can't homeschool your special needs kid? Because he knows it's the absolutely best place for him.
Okay.
So, but like Tiffany said, it is totally like, it is a lifestyle change. You've got to dive in because you're learning 24/7, whether you like it or not, because it's a lifestyle.
Okay. Somebody else? I think I saw Kiana. Kiana joined us as well. She is a speaker as well.
Hey,
Kiana, it is I am Kiana Thomas on IG. Go ahead, Kiana. I thought you were going to say something. You and Cynthia just kind of bumped into each other.
And no, I was saying hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing great tonight.
Okay. All right. So does anybody else have anything? It's homeschooling for everybody.
So I'll chime in. I just made a post. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I've been having some issues, so I apologize. But I just made a post the other day, and I want to read it to you all. It says, homeschooling isn't an experiment. People were learning at home for thousands of years. Government schooling is the experiment, and that experiment is in trouble. So with that thought, is homeschooling for everyone the topic of this conversation? Years ago, homeschooling is what everyone did. So why now that it's government controlled is only for the few?
Yikes. Yikes. Okay. Okay.
I feel the
What,
same way Kiana does. I think
Yeah, same
that
here.
Innately, people have this title of saying homeschool, but you're teaching your children from birth. I mean, it's not new. We have a whole section of people who are unschoolers. Those kids still learn how to read and write, do math and drive and take care of themselves. And they still learn how to do all of that, even though they don't have this schedule and these books and this government formed schooling. So I don't know what the big to do is when you're thinking every parent who has children is already homeschooling. It's not new.
well, and then you have to think about too, something I say all the time, but I didn't realize this until I started homeschooling, that school, the public school system is a business, right? Okay. It was constructed for a very specific reason. Okay. And
Right.
I thought it was school, right? I went to public school, lived my best life, had a good time, right? But I didn't realize that until I actually homeschooled, that it was a business. It was about the money. Yeah, it's great. I hope your kids do get educated. This is some stuff that they need, but we're going to take this out your pocket real quick. So how do y'all feel about that? What?
I totally agree. And Sean, I don't know if you remember me saying the other night that money follows the children. The dollars follow the children. And that's exactly what I was hinting to, that it's a business.
Yeah.
And it's a business to make factory workers. So
listen,
so
the
that's
very
it.
first time when I was researching homeschool, and that was one of the things that kept showing up, popping up, right? School was made to, make factory workers, make factory workers, make factory workers. And I'm like sitting here going, well, I'll be God, but like, God darn it. Now that I think about it, it's made for us to go to a place and work the same, be consistent, follow the rules, walk in a line, be like, it's made for us not to think outside of the box. Like,
Exactly.
Don't
Wow.
question anything. Do it this way. Don't
Yeah.
question.
and that's
Yeah.
me. Listen, my husband and I, we talk about it all the time, y'all. I am a rule follower. That's me, okay? I like following rules. I don't like bending the rules. I don't like to do any of that, right? I don't want you to come talk to me because I done messed up, because I'm doing my best to follow the rules. That is me. That's my character, right? My husband is a tiptoe on the line. Like, let me
That's
see
me.
if I just put this big toe right here on the line, if that's my husband. And so we talk about that all the time, but I'm having to shift that thought, that process of why am I following this rule? Is it for safety? Is somebody else in danger? Like, what is the logic behind me following that rule? Or am I doing it just because I said so? And my mama said, if somebody tell you to do something, you do it, right? Like, why am I doing that? Okay. What did you think about that, Jania?
Well, I was just sitting here pondering what everybody was saying, and I really believe that you know your children best. So I think that homeschooling can be for everyone. It may not be, but it can be if you make that choice and you're dedicated. You can't half step. I mean, you really cannot half step with homeschooling. And if that's the attitude that you're going to have and the lack of work ethic, then it's not for you. It can be. That would be my answer. It can be, and I think it should be, because I think, as Thea said, we're already training our children, from birth. And the Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should go. And when he is old, he will not depart from it. I know that's talking about the word in particular, but it's also, if we apply that just generally to our lives, we've been given that responsibility to train up our children. So I think it can be, but if you're gonna half step, don't do your children a disservice.
Yeah. And I think too, another thing is we are caught up. I told you guys the very first day, I had managed hundreds of people, several hundred were underneath me. It was like I had a team of leads that were 4, and then each of them had 20 people underneath them. And then during certain parts of time, there were 20 more underneath them as temp workers. And I was the manager. I was the one over all of them. And so I came in like, I got this, right? They love me. Of course, we have our beefs, all that good stuff. I just come home and manage my family the same way. Like, I can do this. I'm a leader. I'm a servant leader. And so I can do this. And I came home trying to do traditional school. I bought desk. I told y'all I went straight traditional. I went, remember the old school desk where the table would swing to the front? Okay. I bought the tables that swung to the front. I had 3 of them. As a matter of fact, while I'm talking about I bought, y'all, I still have them, right? And we never use them. Okay. I bought 3 of the tables,
There's one
desk that
I got a couple in here. There's a couple behind me.
yeah, that swing up to the front, right? And I had this whole schedule. The regular school day starts at this time. We're going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, get our breakfast, get our meditation, get our Bible verses. We're going to do this math from this time to this time. Child, by the end of the day, I was left crying on the corner of my bed. Lord have mercy. What have I done? Let me put these kids back into school. Like crying, right? And somebody said start talking about this schooling, right? Homeschooling is not traditional school. Yes, you have traditional methods, right? But it's not traditional school. Girl, what are you doing? This is what they were trying to do in a really nice way. NaConda, what do you have to say? Do you have anything to say about that?
I agree with what everybody said about that, and also that it is a lifestyle and a mentality. If you do know the history of why public schools were created, then you have that knowledge and that wisdom to move forward and say, this may not be the path that our family needs to travel down. And it allows you to live outside of the box. So you have more creative thinkers, you have more entrepreneurs, and you have children that they have a bigger worldview because you create that lifestyle for them with homeschooling.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So I am a mother-in-law or a cousin or somebody to that effect, right? And I walk up to you and say, I really want to homeschool, but I just don't think it's for me. Like my kids get on my nerves, okay? And I can't sit and be up underneath them 24/7. What do you say to that person? I know we talked about getting on your nerves, but what do you say to that person who says, I want to, but I really honestly don't think I can?
I always ask them why. Why don't you think you can? Because people, that's the main thing that people come to approach me with, aside from, girl, you got 5 kids and girl, you working 3 jobs, is, oh, you must have a lot of patience. And I don't. I absolutely do not. So I always share that with them and I ask, why don't you think it? And I think it goes back to that mentality that we spoke about, that everybody agreed with, about why public schools were created. So it's normal for us to grow up and think, when we have kids, we can send them to school, I can go to work, send them to daycare, I can go to work, I can kind of get a break from them. And so society has this mentality. And so when you're approached with possibly not having as much time to yourself or time to go to work as what is deemed normal by society standards, it's change, it's different, and it can be threatening. So I think people should get to the bottom of why they think that before they say, oh, it's not for me, or I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Threatening is an interesting word. I like that you use threatening. Okay. Anybody else? Jequithia, I hadn't heard from you. Come on with it.
Hey y'all. I agree with NaConda. I'm always like, well, why don't you like being with your kids? You brought them into this world, like why not? They're just little people, they need love. Do my kids get on my nerves? Yes, they do. However, it's part of life. Everybody is going to get on your nerve at one point or another, but even your spouse. So it's like, are you going to just send them off somewhere? I mean, they go to work maybe.
Yes, I'm going to send my husband off. Yes. Babe, hey, listen, I bought you a massage. Why don't you go enjoy that?
Right. And so you may want to send your kids off to like a day camp, or you go to work out and you send them to the gym to get that time. But to just not want to be around your kids, it's like, I don't understand.
I don't always want to be around my kids though. I'm just gonna be honest. I don't always want to be around my kids. I mean, I love them. Listen, I would fight a bear for them. Do you hear me? Lose my life behind my children. but I don't always like being around them.
But Sean, even you said that when you went to your little staycation that you was like, man, I miss my kids. I mean, like we miss them and
I
things like
did.
that. And
Them
I'm not
gremlins.
saying that we have to be around our kids 24/7, but for those, like I kind of side eye those that's like, I could never do that, every day of the week to be around my kids.
Yeah.
I send my kids to their rooms, or I may go hide in my room and lock the door and just tell them taking a nap. And I may just be scrolling on my phone.
Okay. Kiana looked like he was getting ready to say something as well.
This is an interesting conversation. As you guys were talking, I was thinking about, we all need a break, right? And it doesn't matter, like the speaker was just talking, it doesn't matter who that person is. Sometimes we need a break from ourselves. Sometimes we get on our own nerves, right? And so what I practice in my homeschool and what I practice in daily life is quiet time. Things are so busy. Everything is always going. We're on our phones. Even during COVID, we've still found a way to keep ourselves busy and preoccupied. So I create an environment in my home where every day for at least an hour, we get quiet. So everything is off, so you can sit and read a book. It's only 2 rules that I have for that. One rule is you can't ask for my help. And the second rule is it has to be quiet. So everybody is off in their corners doing their thing quietly. And I have found that to be a lifesaver. It has really helped my mindset. It has helped me just relax because you're constantly being pulled and called 24/7 as a mom, as an entrepreneur, whatever role that you play, right? There's always something tugging on you. So that quiet time gives your brain and it gives yourself some time to just relax, relate, release.
Oh, wow.
And it's a game changer.
Listen, so when you do that, are you no electronics or
No electronics.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
They can play chess. Like I said, whatever it is, it just has to be quiet. And you'll hear them whispering to each other. So like,
we're not alone.
That's fine.
We do the same thing.
Yeah, you go ahead.
My kids napped. I think it was one of the other parents. I think it was Janae said her kids napped till they were like 7. She was saying she had nappers. So
no, not here.
Tricks the kids. He would say, my husband would kind of treat the kids and say, okay, now we're going to go into our meditation, but you have to lay on the bed, cross their arms, and then 10 minutes later they're asleep, right? So
wow.
So every day, we do that. So I'm with you. I mean, my kids used to be so quiet when we used to do homeschooling when they were younger. They're now about to be 9 and 11. But the younger years, our house was so quiet. Visitors would always say, how are y'all doing anything here? Like, it's so quiet. No TV noises. There's no radio noise. It just was because I knew how important peacefulness was for young ones. Like I had that during my pregnancy. I wanted quiet. So even when they were younger, so they're used to 1, 2, 3 hours of no electronics. They're used to that. Okay, I'm with you. Long as it's quiet. I don't care what you do. Just don't make any noise.
See, we used to do tea time when they were younger. So tea time they like tea. We like tea in our house. So we would everybody grab their tea, sit on the couch, do whatever you wanted to do as long as you were quiet. However, it just occurred to me again that we have not really done that. Like we're not doing that anymore. And so that definitely would be helpful, especially for my 17 and 14-year-old or my 14 and 11-year-old who are typically fighting each other for nothing. Like that would probably, and I mean arguing, not boxing, y'all, but just let me go to the comments in the group. Let's see. Jan says, just breathe. And Malika says, great evening, y'all. Kamisha says, yes, my daughter is with me 24/7 without any family around us. And my husband is gone Monday through Friday. She's been in day camp for a week and it's been heavenly. Jan says, yes. And then Kamisha says, my mom used to do that. She calls them no media days. We can do anything we want without an electronic. It's beautiful to have that. And it's interesting because y'all, I'm the one who will get in the car when we're driving somewhere, and we typically listen to audiobooks or a podcast or something like that, sometimes the radio, but I am the one who does get in the car and it's silent. No radio, no nothing, no podcast, no nothing. And we'll ride wherever we're going in the car. And when my husband's in the car and he's losing his mind, he's like, how do y'all do that? I'm like, we do it all the time. Like, we're just kind of rolling in our own thoughts, right? It never occurred, like, okay, listen, here we go again. More information. Ms. Barneswell says, time management is kicking my butt. Time management is typically, and I say this with love, it's typically because we ain't doing what the Sam Hill we're supposed to be doing. If it's an issue of time management, there are 24 hours in a day allocated. If we're not managing time well, it's because we're not doing what we're supposed to do. And so, although that's a little stretch off of the actual conversation, let's talk about that in particular, time management. How important is it for your success? Go ahead, Cynthia, I saw you first. Go ahead.
So going back to your other question, what you would tell somebody when they're challenging you, and this relates to time management, is I challenge what they think teaching is and what they think learning is. Because when you're learning at homeschool, you are learning in such a different way. I mean, I currently have an 8, 10, and 12-year-old, and I am still able to be done with our schoolwork by noon on most days. And so to think that we're still doing history, science, reading, language arts, math, everything, and we're done at noon. So I'm not trying to entertain my kids from 8 to 3 every single day. I don't want to do that. I mean, that drives me bananas if we have to do anything past 2 o'clock. And probably you guys are all similar too. I mean, like, that's just, it's not good. Mommy turns off. And so I think, but also if we don't stick to the basics, it's easy to get past that time when we don't guard that school time with the time management piece. Yeah. Like if I start saying, well, we need to do this and we need to do that, all these extras, then no, we're not done by noon. But that means we need to change what we're doing, because we really can be, when we stick to the things, the must-dos and the things that are important.
Yeah, the power of no. I turn off, I told you in the time, I don't know which panel it was, but I do blocks, right? Blocks of time is how I do mine. But it's come down to the point where I have to actually tell people no. Like my husband, hey, can you, something simple. I think this week it was, hey, can you make me an Apple appointment? My phone is doing something. And I'm like thinking to myself, I mean, I could, and it's not that big of a deal. However, this is a set time that we're supposed to be focusing on what we're focusing on. So, I mean, unless you're sitting there, it's not like you're busy. You're sitting there. I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. Like, you can go ahead and schedule your own appointment. I can't do that for you right now. And so the power of no when we're homeschooling, or people calling, even businesses, I shut it off. When my phone rings and it's a broker, I don't answer it. I don't answer until later on. So does anybody else have any comments about that?
I think that's a good point. The power of no and being intentional. I always tell my tribe to be intentional about the time that you're using and be fully present. So if you decide to school between 9 and 12, that means your children or child has your undivided attention between 9 and 12, and everything else will have to take the back burner. And so when you are focused, when you are giving your children your undivided attention, when you are fully present for them, that time will fly by and you will see that, we got it all done. But then here's the other piece. What all are you trying to get done? Because when we are transitioning into homeschooling, again, coming from that mindset of school at home, we think that we have to cover all subjects in one day, and that is not the case. And then we can also do multidiscipline subjects, meaning one subject or one topic or one thing can cover multiple subjects. So it's how we school as well that's important.
That's good stuff. Ms. Barneswell says, time management is kicking my butt. Thank you for picking that up. I didn't realize you would do that. It is a stretch. I was thinking about it in terms of putting that in the schedule for time away from the children, the quiet time, etc. Okay, so she was talking about like self-care, not necessarily homeschool. I mean, I fight for my self-care. I don't know about y'all. I have to be intentional. I have to say, no, I'm not going to do that. And I have to say, it can wait. Like all of it can wait.
Yes.
Did anybody else want to piggyback on that?
I have a couple of, I have two responses to the time management thing. I get a lot of clients that ask about it. And so I give my personal definition of scheduling, having a schedule and a routine. So for me, a schedule is if your family operates around the clock. So from 8:15 to 8:30, you have to do this. From 8:30 to 8:45, you're doing something else. That's a schedule. You're operating like that. So if your family thrives off of that, that time management aspect would work best for you. But if not, if you just kind of roll with the punches, y'all just kind of wake up whenever, you have a routine. First, you wake up, brush your teeth. After you brush your teeth, you comb your hair, and then you just kind of have a list of things to do, sort of like a checklist. So I have those two options that I always share with clients. And my second point in regards to time management is something that I recently did and I've done with my kids as far as setting our routine up, is finding their natural pattern, their natural schedule. So like if you're trying to figure out, Miss Barneswell is trying to figure out when she can schedule quiet time or schedule time away from the kids. So I'm preparing my 5-year-old for kindergarten. And I know if I make a routine for him, it may not work out because his attention span is like this short. So for the past few days, I've just been kind of monitoring him. He does something for like 2 minutes and then he comes and says, "Can I go do something else? Can I go do something else?" So the other day I rolled with it. I'm like, "Well, what do you want to do next?" And I wrote it down. And after he did that, I'm like, "Well, what do you want to do next?" So I wrote down a schedule and it's a pretty routine schedule. He gets up, we did some handwriting, some tracing. He did learning apps on his tablet. He did some playtime on his tablet, and he asked for a snack. So I put a snack on the schedule. Then after that, we did some free play. And so I wrote it down. And so from that, I can say, okay, well, if he's, ready for nap time around this time, I'm going to schedule that nap time, and then that's going to be quiet time. And so you just kind of roll with the punches there. And that may kind of help as far as figuring out when you could schedule that quiet time that Nathalie was asking about.
Nathalie, there you go. See how I messed it up. Let's see what's going on in the comments. Jazzy says, use blocks of times and learn the power of no, adding to my nuggets. And she said, we about to start quiet time up in here. Loving that idea. Jazzy says, yes, another nugget. It can wait. Okay. Did anybody else have anything else about? Go ahead, Jania. There we go.
I wanted to say a couple things. The power of that do not disturb button on your phone, I think is really, really important when you're trying to, just be focused and not have those distractions. I use that a lot unless my husband is away from the home. If he's away, he might need to contact me. But I do put that on a lot so that I can stay focused on what I need to do and I don't get distracted by looking at Facebook or trying to keep up with Sean and her posts or what's going on. And then the other thing I would say, and I mentioned it just in the chat yesterday because I wasn't able to be on the call, but that reverse quiet time. So even when you're home and you're by yourself, there's no relief for you. I would tell my children, I'm going to set the timer. I'm going to set it for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and I'm going into quiet time. You can talk among yourselves. You can get a snack. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to talk for 30 minutes. And although they're right there, I needed that time to just either decompress or to pray or just to get myself together. And it's not like, well, I was going to say it's not true self-care, but it is, because if we don't take those moments, we could fly off the handle. And they respected that. I mean, they would be whispering, "Mommy's having quiet time." Shh. So, I mean, it worked when they were little. And I said, you know what? I don't want to go in the bathroom and lock the door, which I've done before too. I don't want to go in my closet and try to hide, which I've probably done before too, but that reverse quiet time, and they would wait till the timer went off. And then when the timer went off, I was like a new woman. So
okay. That's a good option too. I'm going to hide. I'm going to my bathroom.
I hide in the closet.
Yeah, because I'm that one that forgets that that I put myself in quiet time and start talking. Why is this sitting here? Pick up this, do that, do this. Like, I would forget. So I would have to remove myself from the situation. Okay, so homeschooling, it seems like we're all on the same page. Homeschooling can be for everyone, but it's a matter of how serious you take it, like different things like that. Sounds like we're kind of all on the same page, which I think is the first time in the panel. We've all been on the same page.
I was going to jump off what Kiana said earlier about teaching subjects together, because I was actually lucky enough to go to a public school where we actually did a lot of that. And so I actually realized that if I wanted to give my kids the experience I had in public school, I actually had to homeschool them, because my public school was so unique and has changed since then. It was just the city public school, but the principal had a lot of leeway to let his teachers do things. And so there was a lot of Montessori and different things. But a recent thing that my kids did was we went on a field trip. They got interested in space, and then they started writing newspapers. And we send them, so I do the layout in Microsoft Publish, but it motivates my kids to write because they're sharing it with their friends. And we do have a subscription list of friends and family that then they have to address the newsletters, and they have to send them out and all that, including the librarians at the library, because they've helped us with all of our research. So it's just a really out of the box thing that you can do when you're homeschooling. And like this one, they wrote about whatever they wanted. So my 10-year-old wrote about a story about Phyllis Wheatley based on a book that he had read. And, you know, this was completely eclectic because they wrote about the history of Mickey Mouse and black bears and chocolate covered pretzels and B-2 battle droids from Star Wars, as well as Clash of Clans, and an analogy of was Christ in Narnia. Seeing Christ in Narnia literary analysis. So.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah. And they have actually, so funny story. My kids wanted a summer break. And I told them they could actually have one this summer because we homeschooled hardcore last summer. Usually we do go kind of year round. Routine is everything at our house, not schedules, NaConda routine. And so I said, okay, you can have it. Well, we come home from the library and they start brainstorming their next newspaper. So the whiteboard over here has all 10 articles that they're planning to write. So yes, and there are Eliza Hamilton, Egyptian mythology, car engines from the 8-year-old. How to draw an AT-AT from Star Wars, Bad Piggies, Taekwondo, but it lets them write on what they want to write on. And in homeschooling, and what I don't think people always realize is they think if they're homeschooling, they have to teach them what they learn in public school instead of following their own interests. And that's just such a mind shift that your schedule looks like what you want and your learning looks like what you want.
Yeah. That's good. I might steal that too. Good job. Jan said, love that, Cynthia. Kamisha says, I love that newsletter idea. Camille says, that's awesome. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I haven't heard that. That's nice. I wonder what my kids
I'm brainstorming. Maybe we'll talk later, Sean. I'm brainstorming making a public option to be part of the newsletter too.
Okay.
Publicly submit articles.
Yeah, for the kids, like have different kids submit their own articles.
Right.
And that encompasses if they're doing, so they're researching, right? If they're doing history, that's writing, spelling, grammar, all of that in general. That's
right. Well, and the first, it started because we went to Johnson Space Center in Texas. And so they had all these space questions. And so I was like, well, how are we going to, like, what can we show for it when we're done learning? Basically, I was like, how do you want to show for this? And so I suggested this. And so they started writing one based on the space race. And later they wrote one mostly based on Native Americans. So they've written some themed, some eclectic, but it motivates them because instead of just writing for mom, because you don't get to do the same class presentations in homeschool, typically, unless you're in a co-op or something. But it can help kids who sometimes have trouble with focus or purpose to give some purpose because somebody else outside of mom and dad are going to read it.
Yeah, that was mentioned last night. I think, it was Lakeisha that said that somebody said that the kids present to their grandparents or something. I don't remember who said that, but someone said, instead of presenting to you, and that's my kids will do a full presentation to my husband and, to us. but I never thought of saying, okay, call your grandmother or call your papa and tell them what you learned. And that would be better for them, because then they talk about everything that they learn. And papa, of course, thinks they're amazing. So he's going to listen, right? So that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Let's see, somebody says, or Jazzy says, what does eclectic teaching mean? So, because you mentioned it, Cynthia, I'm going to let you.
So eclectic. So actually one thing I was realizing really I haven't seen discussed much at this conference, which I kind of love, is that there's just the talk that we all love to homeschool. We're all teaching at home, and nobody's really stuck on the various methodologies and schools of thought, which there's several different ways of teaching. And eclectic's kind of one of them, which is just kind of picking and choosing. Essentially, it's picking and choosing what works and not really caring about where it comes from, and just looking at all of your options. I mean, we write newspapers, but we also use a traditional textbook, and we use audiobooks. And so you're pulling things from different places versus using like a box curriculum.
Yeah, so literally grabbing from here, from there, and creating whatever lesson that you're doing. Jan says, I have a pen pal for my 6-year-old to write. That's good as well. My kids are not about that life at all. I think they did that one time, and it took so long to get the letter. They were like, nah, fam, like this ain't real life. I'm like, it kind of is. That's how mail works. They're so used to the microwave society. They have absolutely no idea about the crock pot, society, like us waiting for the greatness. They have no idea about that. So
I'll tell you one thing that we started doing this year, and it actually stemmed from the passing of my grandmother. So we do pen pals anyway, and that's something I've done from the beginning of our homeschooling years. But this year we did a 14-day gratitude letter. So every day they would write a letter of gratitude to someone, whoever they decide. And of course, it'd be like a family member or someone they know, and just what are they thankful for. And it really touched my heart, because they wind up writing a letter to the mailman and just putting it, and I actually posted it on my stories, but they just, without me telling them, they just decided, Mommy, I want to write a letter to the mailman. And they just said, thank you for your service and thank you for this, all on their own without me telling them to do it. And they went and put it in there. So I thought, another addition to writing pen pals would be writing gratitude letters to family members. And that's something that, whether they get a letter back or not, which more than likely they will, because it's, hey, I love you so much because of X, Y, and Z, then, it'd be more meaningful.
That's good. That's good. Jania, you were getting ready to say something?
I was thinking about I guess a topic or question when it relates to this homeschooling for everyone. I don't know who's encountered or talked to parents that may feel like they can't homeschool because perhaps they don't have a college degree, or, maybe they got their GED, or maybe they didn't graduate from high school. And I know every state's requirements are different, but I just thought that would be important to discuss. And I know one of my family members in Kids and Culture Camp, a homeschooling mom of 8, and she did not have a college degree. She graduated all of her kids, and all of them are doing very well. They all got accepted to a bunch of, really, really good schools. And she's an amazing teacher. She's an amazing artist. She's an amazing yoga instructor. So I just wanted to, see what everyone's thoughts were on that, and how do you encourage people that have that concern?
So for me, I tell everyone, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And I say, because I did not finish school. I was working a job, they offered me some money, and I decided the money was better than finishing my college degree. And so that was one of my fears, 100%. Like, can I do this? I don't know if I can do this. I didn't graduate college. Like, can I do this? And so when we have that conversation, it's like, what makes you think that you cannot? Let's address that before we move forward. And so if it's, for me, it's, well, I didn't get a college degree. And it was like, well, all the information's out there. You don't need a college degree, and it's not required by your state. So you're good to go. So that solved that issue for me. But anybody else want to respond to that?
Say, even any subject you feel that you can't teach, you can outsource it to someone who can. One thing that I told people was I was good at math. You know, my child's father, before he died, math was his thing. When I was in college, my friends used to hate me because they said when I would tutor them in math, it was like whatever I knew in my head, they should have already known. Like I already have it broken down. And I was like, Lord, I hope Billy gets math, because Billy's going to hate me as he gets older, but Billy doesn't like that. And I'm like, it's certain things, but when it comes to art is not me. But I'm going to have to outsource art, because from the last live we did from Lakeisha, art's getting outsourced to a college student right now.
Listen.
I'm not doing it. But any subject, like Sean said, she outsourced history. You know, any subject you don't feel comfortable because you say, hey, I didn't go to college. Hey, I got a GED. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at English. Outsource it. Really, outsource it.
That's good. Somebody else was going
I also
to
think,
there you go.
I mean, we didn't know how to be parents. You know, when we got pregnant, I mean, there's no guidebook. I mean, there are guidebooks on how to parent, but it doesn't necessarily apply to your specific child.
Yeah.
There was no handbook for marriage. You know, there were no handbooks to tell us how to do a lot of things that we have been blessed to do. However, it doesn't mean that we can't be a good parent. Doesn't mean that we can't be a good spouse, you know, and other things. So I always tell homeschool parents that, like, nobody told you when you had that baby, you had like 1 or 2 days in the hospital, and they were like, okay,
listen,
it's all you.
I cried
Have a
when
good
they were
life.
ready to send me home. I cried when I had my first child, and they were like, "We're checking you out. Like, it's time to check out." I was like, "You sending me home with this whole person?" Like, y'all, I cried. No joke. No joke. I'm a crybaby. I told y'all that.
I think every single one of us has gaps in our education, whether you were public school or whether or not you were homeschooled or however long you went to school. I am learning right along with my kids half the stuff we're learning. I mean,
Yes.
So I think no matter how much education you have or don't have, like, you can learn with your kids. Like, that's totally okay. And it's kind of one of the cool parts I think about homeschooling is I get to go learn all this cool stuff too. So I think no matter what your education is, and for things like, I mean, high school becomes a big thing. You know, how can I teach them higher level science, math, whatever? And again, yeah, you can outsource it, or you can read the textbook together and figure it out. And there's things like Khan Academy to help you along. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, none of us know everything. And, you know, we've got the internet, we've got other things. And so there's plenty of tools to help you learn with them. And part of homeschooling too is teaching them how to get the information for themselves. I mean, I'm actually married to a homeschool student. My husband was homeschooled K-12. So my kids are second generation, but it's not me. And yeah, he knows where to find what he needs when he needs it. And that's one of the most important skills we can teach our kids, is that it's not just going to be spoon fed to them.
That's good stuff. Did anybody want to say anything before I go into the comments again?
I wanted to say one part that we haven't addressed is I'm a first generation homeschooler. I don't know anyone else in my immediate or extended family, neighbors, community, no one has ever done it. And the number one thing in my community that comes up with people saying, I can't homeschool, is income. I have to work. I have to work, period. Either I have to work, me and the husband have to work, me and my spouse have to work, me and the other parent have to work. We don't have time. We can't do that. So being that's something that historically with homeschooling is not talked about, it's not addressed. There are no courses, there are no classes. No one talks about the income and the cost of running a home as well as homeschooling. No one talks about that. That's not something that's big in any communities or the boards or the blogs or because most of the time there's one parent schooling and one parent working. Or the one parent that's schooling is the same parent that's working, but they don't address the income issue of, well, how am I supposed to support my family and school at the same time?
Right. I think in the earlier session today that Lakeisha had some good information as far as, and
absolutely, yes.
So did Kimberly. I was getting ready to say something else. So did they both had information on how to do that as well. I think it's a legitimate concern when it comes to that. But what I will say is whether there's one income or there's two income, in order for us to homeschool, there is a lot of sacrifice that happens in our household. There is a lot of sacrifice.
Yes.
And so that's the biggest thing, is you have to be willing to understand that there's going to be sacrifice, and then be willing to pick what's more important to you in that moment. And so it's different, because people think, of course, especially with us, they think, oh, you guys got it together. Y'all got this, y'all entrepreneurs, y'all that. Listen, we sacrifice a lot to be entrepreneurs. And then we sacrifice a lot on top of that to homeschool our children. So it's a part of sacrifice and what is important to you in that moment. Right now, homeschooling is it for us. And so if we have to sacrifice, we have to say, if we're eating peanut butter and jelly all week, we're eating peanut butter and jelly all week. It is what it is. Anyone else want to comment to that?
I just want to piggyback on what you said.
Go ahead, Jequithia.
Like when people say, well, it must be nice that you get to homeschool your kids. And like you said, we make a sacrifice. We're on one income. You know, my husband works 5 to 7 days a week sometimes, and it just really depends. But, you know, and I gave up a lot because I left the job, you know, to become a stay-at-home mom, you know, that I loved. And, you know, as you know, Sean, I just graduated with my associate's degree at almost 40, you know. But that was something that I wanted to do, you know, for myself, because I felt lost behind that. And it's not that I wanted to necessarily go back out there and work, but to use it as some income that I can bring in for us to pay for all the stuff that we need. Like I see something, like we just got a new printer, and my husband was like, are you really gonna go buy the printer? I'm like, we need the printer, you know? So, but he's like, fine, just go get it. That'll be your graduation gift, you know, and things like that. But, you know, we make those little sacrifices. We may not be able to do family trips all the time, or, you know, my kids may not be able to be in the most expensive program or something like that, or even like hand-me-down clothes. My kids don't care about that, you know. It's what other people. So it's like, what are your priorities? And those are not our priorities. It's like for us, homeschooling our kids is our priority, and making sure that they are okay. That's, you know, that's our priority.
All right. Did anybody else want to comment before I go to the comments?
I'll share a story real quick. So this is Kiana, and I just want to share a story, my story of sacrifice to start the homeschool journey. So some of you know that, you know, I never really wanted, I believe a lot like Sean, never really wanted to homeschool. You know, God called me to homeschool, and I was on a career trajectory to do something completely different. So when the Lord laid it on my heart to homeschool, I'm like, okay, well, how are you going to make this happen? And so I wind up finding an online job, and I left my well-paying job and sacrificed getting up at 3 a.m. in the morning. So from 3 to 8 a.m., I was working online, teaching online. And then at 8:30, I would start school. And I would be at bed about 9. And I did that for almost a year, because when that first year of me coming home, my family could not afford to just have one income. There had to be 2 incomes coming in the house at that time. But I knew, I'm like, okay, well, if God laid this on my heart, then obviously he'll make a way. He gave me the energy, because I don't know where I got it from. So I try to get up at 3 a.m. there. I'm like, no, thank you. But getting up every day, excuse me, doing that for almost a year to sacrifice what was most important, which was homeschooling my children at that time. Excuse me. So when we look at the bigger picture, it is easier for us to make those sacrifices than when, instead of looking at them the right here. If we can focus on the bigger picture versus focusing on what we're going through right here, right now, it'll give you the strength and the energy to keep pushing and to keep moving forward.
Okay. And I think Jania was getting ready to say something.
I just what everyone has said, it all relates to the mindset. And that's one thing that when I talk to parents that are interested in homeschooling, I start there because it's a complete mindset shift if you're not already of that mind to sacrifice, to sacrifice the income, to, maybe if you're working full time, go to part-time so that you can use some money to purchase curricula, or maybe you're just going to just use all free resources. But it's a mindset shift. And if our minds aren't right, it's not going to work out well. And so I think that's what everyone has said, like with the sacrifices and everything, it starts with a mindset. And I think it's important that we emphasize that.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go.
I was just going to say.
Go ahead, Cynthia. You're fine. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, so we've homeschooled over 7 years, but we've actually tried a couple times to go back to public school for specific children. And especially my special needs student, we actually put him recently in public school for a semester, partially because I knew it was always an option in my back pocket, because sometimes certain kids are really challenging. And I know we've talked about that in different sessions. And so I always had it in my back pocket. And I was like, well, I could go to the local school and put him in school. And so we did try that 2 years ago, and it didn't go well. We quickly knew it wouldn't go well. And we are able, thankfully in our area, to actually get resources to homeschool because of his IEP as a result of that. So it was worth it. But I went through a lot of depression when we pulled him out of that, because I knew we had closed the door and that he will never go to public school now, because homeschooling is the best fit for him. And so talking about sacrifice, like that was a big mental picture to like wrap my head around, that like I have to be all in because it is the best place for him. Like he was getting really anxious and everything. And so to see him thrive, and the only person that's going to have that kind of investment in your child's education is you as the parent. That's why you are equipped. That's your best tool to be equipped to teach your kid, whether you pull them out because they're bullying, or you hear them saying stuff you don't want them to say, or they have extra needs that aren't being met in the school. Is that you are the parent, and so you're equipped to meet those needs. But it was a lot for me to wrap my head around, even though it was that was about halfway. He's just finished 5th grade, and we put him in the beginning of first semester at 3rd grade. But that was a big deal to wrap my head around. And so there are times when you may try that, and it allowed our family a reset. But ultimately for him, homeschooling was the best place. And so there are sacrifices, but we do know our kids best, and it's best to trust ourselves as their parents to do that, and to learn from them, become students of your children in how to teach them. And we have flipped some of our homeschool since then, and it thrives more because we're not trying to do what everyone else does.
That's good stuff. So I'm gonna go into the comments, and it says, Malika says, I think I've been doing Eclectic along with Time for Learning. I'm getting so many good ideas. She also says, this is uber creative. I'm helping my daughter write a book of short stories, ultimately to publish. Jan said, love the gratitude letters. Jazzy says, nugget, have kids send letters of gratitude. Hey, Cinda, thank you for joining us. Malika said, and then there are those that say, my degree is not in teaching or education, and thus are hesitant. I was a little fearful because I could only get to algebra with the math. Listen, I failed my first math class. When I was in high school, I failed. And then I took the same class again with a different teacher and passed with a B. And what that taught me as an adult, I didn't realize it as a kid. I thought I was just failing, right? I was just sucking. A child who's getting A and B's was failing, and I didn't understand. But as an adult, I understand now that it was because the teaching style of the teacher was very different than what I needed. The teacher was like Kimberly, just got it and would go up there and put the stuff up there, and I needed to know the why. Why am I doing this? What am I trying to accomplish? And I had a teacher that came the next year and said, okay, this is why you're doing it, and I passed with a B. It's just interesting that now that I'm homeschooling, I realize the difference now, but I did not realize that difference before then. Jazzy says, is it possible to make one post with how to follow all the panelists from all 3 days? Absolutely. I'm going to assign that to Kimberly again.
It's already there. It's out there. It's still there. It's
No,
still
it's
there.
inside the speaker group. I don't think it's
in the
inside
speakers
the
group. It's not in the other group.
Yeah, it's in the speaker group. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to have Kimberly do that so you can all follow you. I suggest that you do follow them. These are some great ladies. I plan on being connected with them more. This has been a great conference. Let's see. Malika says, yes, and with no family support, needing to work from home and having no blueprint, how to really make it work. There was a nice amount of cues that I had. However, I committed when my daughter was 2 years old and have been putting this together a piecemeal for 7 years. And Malika, I mean, it looks like you're doing it, right? Like you're doing it. We're all piecemealing it, right? We all, one day it works, one day it doesn't. One semester it works, one semester it doesn't. So don't feel discouraged by that in any kind of way whatsoever. So guys, we've gone a little bit over. I try to cut us off at about 9:45. But we're going to go ahead and keep going. What I'd like for you guys to do, of course, it's the end. So each of you drop your nugget, tell them how to follow you, and then I will finish this out. Okay. So, and you can give your thank yous, whatever you want to say, because this is the last panel for the conference. So NaConda, you go first. You're at the top of my screen.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, Sean, for putting this on. I'm glad that you followed your heart and your spirit because it was amazing. Everybody who was supposed to be here was here. And I'm appreciative to you for taking the lead on this, and for everyone who has participated, speakers, vendors, attendees, everyone. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I would like to leave you all with this, since we were talking about how homeschool is not for everyone. You don't need a bunch of patience. You can work. You will get breaks. You can have alone time. You can have date night, and you don't have to be rich to homeschool. And so I am NaConda Frank, the Homeschool Whisperer. You can find my business page on Facebook, NaConda N. Frank Consulting.
All right. Kimberly?
Thank you first, Sean, for putting this conference together. Thank all of you guys for attending the inaugural Tailor-Made Homeschooling Virtual Conference. My nugget is, tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. That is how you can have a successful homeschooling journey with your child. You can find me on Instagram at the Southern Mocha Homeschooling Mom.
That's good. All right, Jania, you're next.
All right. Well, Sean, thank you very, very much. I just love the energy of all the speakers, and I've loved and have enjoyed just connecting with people inside the Facebook group. And it's nice to just, I mean, this is just almost like a relief to me to connect with other homeschool moms, particularly, us in general. Where I am in the Montgomery area, there are very few African-American homeschoolers, and we're all spread out, and it's not very unified. So I miss that from being in DC. So thank you for providing this awesome conference. And I've learned, like I said, I've been taking notes from everyone, and I will implement some of the things that you all shared. So thank you. My little nugget is just mindset. Before you say, no, I can't, just consider your mindset. Talk to those that not only can, but they are doing it, so that you can get that confidence that you need, and just consider the mindset, because it will make a world of a difference. You can contact me at Kids and Culture Camp via Instagram, or Kids and Culture via Facebook, and then kidsandculture.com is my website. Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome. All right, Cynthia.
Thank you for letting me be a part of this. It was definitely a little leap of faith, and I'm so glad to get to know all of you this week. Look forward to following everyone. Thanks, Sean. My nugget would be you are designed to be your kid's teacher. And you have to do you, whatever that looks like, and it's gonna look uniquely you. I hated it when I was a brand new homeschooler trying to decide if I would homeschool, and I wanted somebody to tell me the right answer. And nobody could, because they said, you are the only one who can answer that question. And I've had people ask me the same question, and I've had to tell them the same thing. I said, only you can answer that question. But your homeschool will look uniquely you, and that is exactly how it's supposed to look. So you do you, and you can find me at insideournormal.com, writing about life and homeschool with Out of the Box Kids, and on Facebook and Instagram, also at Inside Our Normal.
All right. And Thea D. Parker.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much. I love Sean like a sister. I wish we were closer. I am amazed and in awe with her every day, with her energy and her spirit and her work ethic. It is crazy. So I thank you for allowing me to be part of this and part of the homeschool, the Guru Click. My last nugget for everyone would be stay open-minded. One of the reasons I started to homeschool was to be around different people who spoke differently, from different places, different backgrounds, so that my children can understand the world doesn't look like them everywhere. So be open-minded to the possibility of learning anywhere, anything, because it's always a lesson in everything. You can follow me everywhere on Thea Parker Show.
Thea Parker Show. Y'all, Thea Parker, what she's not telling you is she's coming up with a web series, y'all. That's where that Thea Parker Show is coming from. So she's working hard on a web series. I'm excited about it, y'all. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Well, that got to be good. That got to be good.
It's going to be good. It can't be nothing else if you were authentically you. What did I tell you? Like, it can't be anything but good.
I'm excited because it includes exactly what I said. People from everywhere and walks of life and what they do, and they make some difference. So, especially women, because I'm all about the girl power.
She's all about women making money.
All about girl power. So I'll be interviewing women from different places, from Japan and Asia and Trinidad, and I got women from everywhere I'm interviewing. So that's loving to hear their stories. So I'm working on it.
I'm excited. All right, Jequithia, you're next.
Right, I just want to say thank you, Sean, for entrusting me to be a part of this. When you first asked in the masterminds, I was like, how can I get out of this? But you didn't push us, but you encouraged us, and I appreciate that for kind of pushing me out of my comfort zone. My nugget is to remember your why. If you choose to homeschool, remember your why. Like, why do you want to do this? And go from there. And you can find me on Instagram at _caffeinated_nutritionist, or on Facebook, the Caffeinated Nutritionist.
And last but not least, Miss Kiana Thomas.
Hello, hello, hello. I just want to first thank God for being in the right time, in the right place. And of course, Sean, for putting this all together, being the visionary and bringing all of these amazing women together. I want to thank each and every one on this call. All of you together has brought this conference and made it such a beautiful thing. And I am just so grateful to be a part of that. And my nugget and the thing that I want to leave with everyone is to remember to give yourself grace. You are doing fine. You are wonderful and perfectly made. So continue to keep pushing. Just shake it off, get back up, and try again. So that is me. And you can find me on all platforms at Kiana Thomas, YouTube, Facebook, website, kianathomas.com, and Instagram as well. And again, thank you.
All righty, y'all. So listen, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I done told y'all I'm a crybaby. Y'all not gonna have me cry on this conference, okay? And I'm
not
glad
with that
Thea,
fire. Not with that fire.
I'm glad Thea cut it off, because Thea will catch me every time, and she'll say something. She'll say something that. Listen, okay. Hey, listen. I appreciate every single one of you. I thank y'all for being who you are every single day when you show up. I appreciate you. This has been a blessing. I don't know who said it. The people who were supposed to be here are here.
Mhm.
And it was a fight. My God, from Zion, y'all have no idea how much of a fight this was for me. I almost quit, not once, not twice, but 3 times. I'm thankful and I'm grateful that I was able to do what I was called to do in this moment. I appreciate you guys a lot. What I would say for my nugget is one size does not fit all. That's true. Never stop learning, because even the guru is sitting here amazed by the other speakers learning things every single day. Thank you to all the attendees. Thank you to all the sponsors. Thank you to any and everyone that prayed for me, that spoke life over me. Thank you. This was rough. Thank you. I appreciate you. Darn it. So it's a wrap. Now, what I want to tell you guys before we leave, you guys asked to maybe do this quarterly. It's a lot of work. I don't know if I'll do this quarterly. But what I will say is this group will remain open. It will remain a safe place. If you want something more like this, I do have my Homeschooling with Sean group that is more like this. You're more than welcome to come over there, but this group will remain open. The conference page will remain open. So you're more than welcome to do whatever you do. I will do my best to be consistent and pop in if you need help. Say, today sucked, y'all help me, and we will be there to assist you as much as possible. I'm just amazed. This was it, y'all. This was what I was supposed to be doing. So I appreciate each and every single one of y'all. Again, the conference group stays open. If you have any questions, all that good stuff, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I am glad about the relationships and the connections that I have made. There are a lot of you that I'll be reaching out saying, can you go live on my page, or can we do something? I'm also thinking about, so put this in your brain, those who are married. Lakeisha has the Real Homeschool Moms, right? So I'm thinking about doing maybe a one-day
right.
seminar for the Real Homeschool Dads. And what we'll do is have our husbands come and speak to other husbands about homeschooling versus us speaking, right? So that's just an idea that I'm thinking of. Just put it on your radar, okay? I don't know when it's gonna happen because I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I laid in my bed in between sessions today like this because I had my makeup done and slept. But y'all, I thank you. I appreciate you. You guys are absolutely amazing. And I will talk to all of you soon. Speakers, please stay on because we want to get our picture and wrap up anything else that we need to wrap up. But that's a wrap for the Tailor-Made HVC 2021. We will be back next year. I don't know when, but we'll be back next year. And my hope and my prayer is that every single one of you speakers will return to drop your nuggets on a consistent basis, right? So thank y'all so much for joining us. Until next time, guys. Bye, guys. Bye. All right, so we're done streaming, and let me stop recording.